At my husband's family barbecue, his aunt laughed and said in front of everyone, "Well, some women just care more about careers than children." His mom added, "Poor Daniel, he'd be such a good father if his wife wasn't so selfish." I looked at my husband, waiting for him to say something. He stared at his plate. So I took a sip of my drink and said, "Actually, we're child-free because Daniel is infertile. You can apologize to me whenever you're ready." The entire table went silent. Now his whole family knows his biggest medical secret. He's furious with me, and everyone wants to know if I went too far. Am I the asshole? Hey everyone, I'm 31F. My husband Daniel is 33M. We've been together for 8 years, married for 4. Living in the US, we've always looked like the textbook couple who will have 2-3 kids, dog, minivan, the whole package. Except we're child-free, and my husband's family decided that could only mean one thing: it must be my fault. For context, when Daniel was a teenager, he had a pretty serious medical issue. I'm not going to get too graphic, but it involved surgery and damage to the reproductive system. When we started dating, he told me very early on that getting pregnant naturally would be extremely unlikely, maybe impossible. He was emotional and ashamed even bringing it up, like it made him less of a man. I didn't see it that way at all. I loved him. I also wasn't even sure I wanted kids. We had long, honest conversations. Could we try IVF someday? Would we adopt? Would we live child-free and travel and spoil our nieces and nephews? We landed on this. We'd leave the door technically open, IVF adoption maybe one day, but we would not hang our happiness on having kids. If it didn't happen, it didn't happen. When we got engaged, we also made another agreement. It's your medical history, I told him. You get to decide who knows. I'll never tell anyone you're infertile unless you want me to. He hugged me and said that was the first time he felt safe discussing it. That promise is the core of the conflict. Enter the perfect family TM and the timeline. Daniel's parents are intense. His mom, Linda, 58F, is the kind of woman whose entire identity is "I'm a mom and someday I'll be a grandma." His dad, Mark, 60M, is quieter but very old-school family line legacy. The family name must continue. Daniel's younger sister, Emily, 29F, got pregnant 6 months after her wedding, had a Pinterest-perfect baby shower, and her son is now the literal sun around which the whole family orbits. I genuinely like kids. I love my nephew. But from the moment we said "I do," the countdown started. First year of marriage. So, when should we expect a little one? Don't wait too long, dear. The clock is ticking. Your cousin already has 2. You better catch up. I'd laugh it off, change the subject, or say, "We're not in a rush." They'd roll their eyes or make jokes about career women. Second year of marriage, it got sharper. At Thanksgiving, Linda said in that sweet, mean voice, "You know, Daniel adored kids growing up. I just never imagined he'd end up with someone who doesn't want to be a mother." Daniel was sitting right there. I felt my face burn. He squeezed my knee under the table but said nothing out loud. Later in the car, I said, "I really need you to say something when they talk like that." He sighed, "I don't want to get into a big thing with them. They wouldn't understand. It'll just start drama." "But they're blaming me for something that isn't my fault," I said. "We both agreed we're not doing IVF or adoption right now. It's not like I secretly sabotaged anything." "I know," he said quietly. "I just don't want them to know I'm the problem." There it was. He knew they were blaming me. He just preferred that to them knowing the truth about him. Death by 1,000 comments. Over the next 2 years, this became a pattern. At Christmas, we bought a little something for Emily's baby. Maybe we should just save the rest of the toys for when you finally give Daniel a child. At a family friend's wedding, you'd look so beautiful pregnant, shame we might never see it. At a random Sunday dinner, real families have children. Careers are nice, but they won't visit you in the nursing home. Every time the implication was clear. If we don't have kids, it's because I am selfish, cold, obsessed with work, whatever. It wasn't just the older generation either. Emily made comments too. When she was pregnant with her second child, she said to me, "You're so lucky you have your body all to yourself. But honestly, sometimes I think women who don't want kids just don't want to grow up." I said, "Or maybe some women are fine with different life paths." She shrugged. "Maybe. I just can't imagine loving my career more than my kids." I could feel the unspoken "unlike you" hanging in the air. After each event, I would tell Daniel how drained I felt. "Imagine if my family constantly hinted you were less of a man for not being a provider," I said once. And I just quietly let them believe that, even though I knew the real reason. He always apologized to me, privately. "I'm sorry, I know they're unfair. I just can't handle them looking at me like I'm broken," he'd say. I empathized, truly. His infertility is a huge insecurity, but that empathy started warring with something else, anger and resentment. Because in practice, our unspoken deal had become, I would protect his privacy, and in return he would let me be the scapegoat. Therapy, boundaries, and the line in the sand. Eventually, my anxiety got bad enough that I went to therapy. I dread every family holiday, every group chat. I'd rehearse phrases in my head. "We're happy without kids right now. That's personal. We're not discussing our reproductive plans." My therapist was very clear. "You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to say, 'Don't talk to me about this.' You are not obligated to absorb blame for something that isn't yours." We talked a lot about the confidentiality issue, his infertility not being technically my story to tell. My therapist said something that stuck. "You can honor someone's privacy up to the point where it becomes self-harm." I decided I would give Daniel a choice before I changed anything. One night, pretty calm, no drama, I said, "Look, your family's comments are getting to me. I need one of two things to happen. Either you actually shut them down when they blame me, or we tell them the truth together so they at least stop thinking this is my selfish choice." He went quiet. "I don't want them to know," he said. "They'll pity me. My dad will look at me like I'm defective." "And how do you think I feel?" I asked softly, "when they look at me like I'm ruining your life?" He rubbed his face. "I'll try harder to say something," he said. "Just don't tell them, please. It's my medical history." I agreed, again to protect it. For a while, he did slightly better. If someone said something very direct, he'd change the subject or say, "We're not talking about that right now." But he never actually said, "Stop blaming her." He never said, "This isn't her fault." He never said, "This topic is off limits." It was all soft deflection, and his family plowed right through it. The barbecue from hell. Now to the incident itself. A few months ago, his parents hosted a big family barbecue. Extended relatives, neighbors, the usual. It was the first big get-together since his cousin had had twins, so there were babies everywhere. Cute chaos. I went in with a game plan. Smile, be polite, deflect baby talk, lean on Daniel if things got rough. At first it was fine. I played with my nephew, complimented the new parents, helped in the kitchen. Then someone asked Emily if they were done or going for a third. Cue jokes, laughter, etc. Then Linda turned to me and said, loud enough for half the table to hear, "We'd be happy with just one from you too. I don't know why you keep denying him like this." I felt like the air got sucked out of my lungs. I glanced at Daniel. He was staring at his plate again. I said carefully, "We've talked about this. We're not trying for kids right now." Her lips tightened. "You say that now, but you're not getting any younger. At some point you're just being selfish." Poor Daniel. One of his aunts chimed in, jokingly, "Maybe he needs a less selfish wife, eh?" People chuckled. I heard blood rushing in my ears. I said, "I really don't like being called selfish for decisions you're not involved in." Linda said, "Then give us a grandchild and I'll stop." Laugh, sip, like she was being clever. And Daniel, Nothing, not a word, not even a mom cut it out. I looked at him. He avoided my eyes. That was my breaking point. The sentence that changed everything. I put my glass down very gently so my hands wouldn't shake. Okay, I said, calm enough that people looked up. Since everyone here is so invested in my uterus, let's be accurate. I turned to Linda. We're not child-free because I'm career-obsessed or selfish. We're child-free because Daniel is infertile. So unless one of you is volunteering to magically fix that, you can stop acting like this is something I'm doing to you. Silence. You could hear a fly land on the potato salad. Linda's face went white, then rage red. His aunt's mouth literally dropped open. Emily looked between us like she'd missed an episode of a show. Daniel froze. His dad finally said stiffly, "Is that true?" Daniel swallowed, stared at the table, and gave the smallest nod. "But that's private," Linda snapped. "How dare you share that with everyone? How dare you call me selfish for years while you knew nothing?" I shot back. "You've all blamed me for something that was never my fault. I've been biting my tongue to protect his privacy. I'm done being the villain in your story." His aunt muttered something about disrespectful. Someone coughed. A kid yelled in the background, oblivious. I stood up. I'm going inside to get some air. I left them sitting there in the fallout. Aftermath at home. We left the barbecue early. The car ride home was dead silent. As soon as we walked in the door, Daniel exploded. "What the hell was that?" he yelled. "You had no right to tell them." "You had every opportunity to tell them to stop," I said, trying to stay calm. "You let them call me selfish and broken for years while you sat there and watched. I protected you. Who was protecting me?" "I never asked them to say those things," he shot back. "I just didn't want to talk about it." "You didn't have to talk about it," I said. "You could have said, 'Back off, this is between us.' You could have said, 'Stop blaming her.' Instead, you did nothing, and I've been the punching bag at every holiday since we got married." He paced. "You humiliated me in front of my entire family." "They've been humiliating me for years," I said quietly. "If your pride is more important than my sanity, I don't know what we're doing." He said, "You betrayed my trust. That was my medical information to share, not yours." I couldn't argue with that part. I did break our agreement. I felt horrible and sick about that, but I also felt weirdly relieved. The secret was out. I wasn't the designated villain anymore. We slept in separate rooms that night. The family fallout. Over the next week, Linda called and left me a voicemail screaming about how I emasculated her son and destroyed how his father sees him. His dad sent a shorter text, "I am disappointed in how you handled this." Emily texted something like, "Wow, that was a lot, you okay?" I didn't respond to Linda or his dad. I texted Emily, "I'm tired of being called selfish. There's more to the story than you know, ask your brother." She later told Daniel she had no idea and felt terrible for the comments she'd made. She actually apologized to me in person a couple of weeks later, which I appreciated. Linda, on the other hand, doubled down. She called Daniel nonstop, crying about how she'd had this vision of him as a father. How cruel it was of me to say that out loud. At no point did she apologize for calling me selfish. Daniel kept saying, "She's just upset, she'll calm down." I said, "She's upset about the truth, not about how she's treated me." Where things stand with my husband. We ended up in couples therapy. I told him straight up, "I am sorry I broke your confidence. That part was wrong, but I won't apologize for defending myself. I won't apologize for refusing to be labeled selfish and barren and cold while you let it happen to protect your image." He admitted in front of the therapist that he'd been a coward. "I was so afraid of them seeing me as broken," he said, crying, "that I let them think she was the broken one instead." I cried too. I do still love him. I don't want to hurt him, but I can't pretend this didn't change how I see him. Our therapist said something that helped put words to it. "You both broke each other's trust. He broke yours by not protecting you from unfair attacks. You broke his by sharing his secret. Now you both have to decide if you're willing to rebuild from here, or if this is a fundamental incompatibility. We're working on it. He started telling his extended family directly. Don't talk about our reproductive choices. Don't blame my wife. This topic is not for discussion. Linda is still icy with me. We're on LC with her now. Frankly, I'm okay with that. So am I the asshole? On paper, yes. I broke a promise about someone's medical privacy. That's serious. But at the same time, I was being emotionally attacked for years for something that wasn't true. He stood by and let it happen to protect himself. Every time I tried to set boundaries quietly, they were ignored or minimized. I reached a breaking point and chose self-defense over his secrecy. If this were just he didn't want kids and I blurted it out, I'd say clear YTA. But this was he let his family weaponize that secret against me while I absorbed all of the hate alone. At some point, continuing to protect him felt like betrayal of myself. So Reddit, what do you think? AITA for finally telling my husband's family the real reason we're child-free after they kept calling me selfish. Or is this one of those messy situations where everyone sucks a little, but I was justified in defending myself? Because right now, I feel like the only way I could have stayed 100%, not the asshole, was to just keep taking the hits forever.